Hello people, Digital Mouse here. This is the Legion Go S Windows Edition with the AMD Z2 Go processor. I purchased it about a month ago, and after comparing it to my original Legion Go, I learned some things about it that you really need to know. I want to start with a quick unboxing. The Legion Go S comes with a 65-watt USB Type-C charger. Then there's the Legion Go S itself. I'll get back to this in just a second. I think this cardboard box is actually a kickstand. It looks like there's some paperwork inside, but I'm not even going to open it. I never read that paperwork anyway. Unlike the original, the Legion Go S doesn't come with a case. And because of design changes, it won't fit inside the same case as the original. Okay, let's get back to the Legion Go S. Lenovo made some huge improvements to the ergonomics this time around. They ditched the squarish, boxy grips from the original. It now has a more rounded ergonomic design, and its shape fits my hand perfectly. Of course, how a device feels in your hand isn't just about shape, weight matters too. The Legion Go S weighed 745 grams, which is a big drop from the 896 grams of the original. And just for comparison, while the ROG Ally X is a smaller device overall, it does have a larger battery, but still manages to come in lighter than both at 718 grams. Now just a heads up, these weights are based upon my scale, and I've upgraded the SSDs in both the ROG Ally X and original Legion Go, so the numbers are going to be different from the official specs from Lenovo and Asus. That being said, having used the original Legion Go, the Steam Deck, and the ROG Ally, the Legion Go S is the most comfortable to hold out of all of them. As far as the buttons go, they feel pretty much the same as the original Legion Go, which for me isn't a bad thing. I like the buttons on the original and they're just as clicky here. The triggers felt a little bit better to me. The top triggers were more clicky and I can hear the difference when pressing them. The lower trigger feels like they have a little bit more tension than the ones on the original. It's a small change, but it definitely feels better. I don't use the back buttons much, but they feel okay. Lenovo gave the thumbsticks a slight design upgrade. They now have a glossy silver finish instead of the standard black. They're still Hall effect sensors, and to me, they feel pretty much the same. And the slight curvature on top provides just the right amount of control while gaming. One thing to note, you can't remove the grips on the Legion Go S like you could on the original, and there's no kickstand. But Lenovo did add a switch that lets you adjust the lower trigger press. You can switch between a short press, which is great for games like Call of Duty, or a long press, which I prefer for racing games like Forza Horizon. None of the other handhelds I've used have this feature, but it is something I use all the time on my favorite controller. Okay, I want to stop right here for a second because I had a huge problem with the triggers that I want to tell you about. But before I do, if you like this video, please hit the like and subscribe button. It helps the channel. So when I first started playing Call of Duty Black Ops, I noticed that when I pressed the left trigger, I couldn't fully aim down my sights. For reference, this is what it looked like when I fully aimed using my original Legion Go. Now, I don't know if this has to do with the switch they added to adjust from long press to short, but this has never happened with my original Legion Go. That being said, the problem was eventually fixed after a software update, but I thought it was important to let you know. Another big change is the D-pad. Instead of the simple cross design from the original Legion Go, the Legion Go S has a cross embedded within a circular shape, which I really prefer for fighting games like Mortal Kombat. It just gives me more control over my character. Lenovo also moved the Legion Space, Quick Settings, and in-game buttons further up on the device. I assume it's to make room for the new 2x2 watt front-facing speakers. They don't sound as good as the speakers on my ROG Ally or Ally X, but I do like that they're now front-facing instead of top-facing like the original. Another noticeable change is the trackpad. It's now significantly smaller than the one on the original. That said, it still works just as well and has the same functionality as a standard mouse. You can tap once for a left click or tap and hold for a right click. Although I did have to go into Windows and tweak the settings to get it just the way I wanted. Okay, let me show you the top and bottom. You'll find the power button, volume controls, and headphone jack up top. Lenovo also added a second USB-C port. The original Legion Go had one USB-C port on top and another on the bottom. Both USB-C ports are USB 4, so you'll get 40 gigabits per second data transfer, DisplayPort 1.4 support, and power delivery. The SD card slot has now been moved to the bottom. As for the display, the Legion Go S comes with an 8-inch 1920 by 1200 touchscreen with a 16:10 aspect ratio, up to 120Hz variable refresh rate, and 500 nits of brightness. It's a native landscape display, as opposed to the original Legion Go's native portrait display. It's not as big or as high res as the original Legion Go's 8.8-inch 2560 by 1600 display with its 144Hz max refresh rate, but honestly, when gaming on a handheld this size, the slightly lower specs on the display doesn't bother me at all. Now I'm going to open up the back of the Legion Go S because there's something Lenovo is doing with this new model that I really like. On the original, taking off the back required you to remove 6 screws and pry off the cover, but on the Legion Go S, the process is more involved. I'll go through it quickly, but I'll leave a link to Lenovo's hardware maintenance manual in the video description. That's what I used as a reference. Lenovo recommends that you first disable the built-in battery. You can do that by holding down the volume up and power button and going into the BIOS. Next, go into BIOS setup, then to more settings, configuration, go to power management. Then I scroll down until I got to disable built-in battery. In case you're wondering, the battery will automatically be enabled once I finish with everything and I plug it into the AC adapter. So I just hit enter, and when it asked me if I wanted to proceed, I just hit yes. Since I disabled the battery, the device wouldn't power on even if I accidentally pressed the power button. Next, I unscrewed the 3 screws on the bottom, then pried off the deco cover on top. There were 3 screws to remove. Then I pried off the top triggers. Then there were 2 screws underneath them. The screws underneath the triggers didn't come all the way out. I just had to loosen them up. Once I got all the screws removed, I pried off the back cover starting around the vents. Keep in mind, I sped everything up for the video, so if you do this, be patient, it may take a while. The Legion Go S comes with an M.2 2242 SSD. I removed it by first disconnecting the battery. It's held in place by plugging it into the Legion Go at one end, and then by a bracket at the other. So I just unscrewed the bracket and removed it from the Go S. And here's the change that Lenovo is making to their new devices that I absolutely love. Lenovo is now allowing you to upgrade the storage in their handhelds to the more common 2280 SSDs, which gives more options for higher capacity drives at better prices compared to the smaller 2242s. You can install a 2280 in the original Legion Go, but you'll need to use an adapter. So to put everything back together, I just went backwards. I reinstalled the SSD, I connected the battery, replaced the back cover, returned the screws that went underneath the triggers, then snapped the triggers into place. I returned the 3 top screws, replaced the decorative trim, and the 3 bottom screws. I plugged it into the AC adapter, and once the light came on, I pressed the power button and it turned back on. Okay, so I wanted to see how the Legion Go S compares to my original Legion Go in terms of performance, so I ran 2 3D Mark benchmarks, TimeSpy and Firestrike. Both devices were set to performance mode throughout the test. I'm going to start with TimeSpy on the Legion Go S, then I'll do a comparison with the original Legion Go after that. Its overall score came in at 2,460. Its graphics score was 2299 and the CPU score was 4090. During the test, the average temperature hit 75 degrees Celsius. For real-world gaming performance, 3D Mark provides an estimated FPS for several different games at 1080p and 1440p. Since the Legion Go S has a max resolution of 1920 by 1200, I ignored the 1440p numbers and focused only on 1080p performance. Here's what I got at 1080p Ultra settings. Ultra meaning everything maxed out except for ray tracing, which was turned off. Battlefield 5 ran at 55 FPS. Apex Legends got up to 110. GTA 5 scored 145, Red Dead Redemption 2 scored significantly lower, averaging only 35 FPS, and Fortnite got all the way up to 180. Now let's compare these numbers to the numbers I got on the original Legion Go. It has a more powerful AMD Z1 Extreme chip compared to the Z2 and the Go S, but some of the 3D Mark results surprised me. Its overall score was about 500 points higher at 2967, its graphics score came in at 2681, and the CPU score was 7519, a huge jump in CPU performance compared to the Go S. It also ran cooler, averaging 11 degrees lower than the Go S at 64 degrees Celsius. But here are the 1080p performance numbers as compared to the Go S. The original Legion Go had higher estimated FPS in every game except Red Dead 2. But according to 3D Mark's numbers, the difference wasn't all that big. At 1080p, you'll be able to play most games with solid frame rates, the only exception being Red Dead 2, which is demanding on both devices. Let's go over the Firestrike numbers. The Legion Go S scored 6253 overall, while the original Legion Go hit 7066. Graphics scores were 796 versus 7689. But the biggest gap again was in CPU physics performance, where the original Legion Go had a massive lead, 20,407 versus the Legion Go S's 13,135. For 1080p gaming, the results were consistent with TimeSpy. The original Legion Go had FPS advantages in Battlefield 5, Apex Legends, and Fortnite. FPS was identical in GTA 5 and Red Dead. Now you may want to try to improve performance by adjusting the settings in the Legion Go S, and you can go into Legion Space and adjust your power and display settings. But there was one setting I was a little disappointed in. The original Legion Go comes with 16GB of RAM, and when you go into the BIOS settings under UMA frame buffer size, you can manually adjust the amount of RAM dedicated to the GPU up to 8GB. On the other hand, the Legion Go S comes with twice the amount of RAM at 32GB, and when I went into the BIOS to adjust the amount of RAM, I found I can manually adjust it up to 8GB. The exact same amount as the original Legion Go. Now the Asus ROG Ally comes with 24GB of RAM, but I didn't have to go into the BIOS in order to adjust the amount dedicated to the GPU. I just had to go into the settings within Armory Crate, and with its 24GB of RAM, I could adjust the amount of RAM dedicated to the GPU all the way up to 16GB. Now none of the games I play require over 8GB of RAM, but it would be really nice to have that option. Let's talk about battery life. The Legion Go S comes with a 55.5 watt-hour battery, while the original has a slightly smaller 49.2 watt-hour battery. On paper, that means the Go S should have an edge, but I wanted to see how that played out in real-world use. So I ran a test. I started gaming on the Legion Go S at 11:14 a.m. with the battery at 97%. I kept it in performance mode with the resolution set to 1200p and the refresh rate at 120Hz. I started by playing a few rounds of Call of Duty multiplayer, which is easily my most played game. But I was curious to see how the Legion Go S would handle it in performance mode, and I'm happy to report that it ran smoothly the entire time, and I didn't have any more problems with the left trigger. I got decent frame rates throughout my gaming session. After several rounds, I thought I'd give Fragpunk a try, a game I recently discovered, and honestly, I really like it. The character designs and backgrounds have a cool animated style that makes the game fun to look at. Its styling reminded me a lot of Valorant and the animated show Arcane League of Legends. That said, I'm still getting the hang of it. My performance was pretty rough. I think I only managed 1 or 2 kills during deathmatch. However, the Legion Go S's performance was actually pretty good. I was getting decent frame rates throughout. So after getting crushed a couple of times, I decided to switch over to Marvel Rivals, which I'm still not great at, but I am more familiar with. The Legion Go S had a hard time handling Marvel Rivals with my current settings. During gameplay, my FPS only got up to the high teens and low 20s. During the battery test, I kept the settings the way they were. However, I later found that by dropping the resolution to 800p, changing the refresh rate to 60Hz, and going into game settings and turning on AMD FSR 3, I was able to more than double my frames per second from the 20s all the way up to the 50s and 60s. Back to the battery. I played till about 12:30, at which time I had 10% of my battery left. I'll go over these numbers again when we do the comparison with the original Legion Go. For the original Legion Go, I used the same settings as I did on the Go S. Performance mode, 1200p, 120Hz, etc. I started playing Call of Duty at 3:03 p.m. with the battery at 97%. As expected, it handled the game really well. In fact, it often hit higher frame rates than what I saw on the Go S, which makes sense considering the hardware differences between them. After a few matches, I switched over to Fragpunk, but this time, I decided to detach the controllers and play in FPS mode. While playing with the attached controls on the Legion Go was definitely convenient, using the OG Go like a mouse and keyboard setup actually made the game a lot more fun for me. And I played better this way too. Not amazingly better, but I definitely improved. I was getting more kills and ended up finishing 7th in one of the matches, and the older Legion Go handled Fragpunk beautifully, delivering consistently smooth frame rates the entire time. Now my original plan was to play a few rounds of Fragpunk and then switch over to Marvel Rivals, like I did with the Go S. But I was having such a good time, I ended up just sticking with Fragpunk through the rest of the test. By 4:04 p.m. the battery had dropped to 22%, and at 4:10 p.m. I got the low battery warning at 6%. A few minutes later, the screen went blank. The battery was completely drained. Okay, just to summarize, on the Legion Go S, I played for about 1 hour and 16 minutes, and by the end, the battery had dropped from 97% to 10%. On the original Legion Go, I got around 1 hour and 7 minutes of playtime, and my battery life went from 97% to 6%, and shortly after that, the device shut down. Now, I know this wasn't a scientific test, and I did introduce variables, like not playing the exact same games for the exact amount of time, and I did use the controllers detached from the OG Legion Go. But even taking all those things into consideration, to me, there just wasn't that much difference in battery life. Let's talk about price, because that's where things really start to get interesting. I picked up my Legion Go S for $729, but when you compare that to the original Legion Go, which you can still find new for around $699, or even an open box for $589, the price difference starts to feel a little tough to justify considering the difference in performance. Now, to be fair, I really like the hardware of the Go S. The ergonomics make it super comfortable to hold, and I love the trigger mode switch on the back. I also appreciate that the Go S now natively supports M.2 2280 SSDs. It just makes upgrades more straightforward. That said, even though the Go S has 32GB of RAM compared to 16GB in the original, in actual gameplay, the difference didn't stand out that much. And when I ran benchmark tests, the original Legion Go actually outperformed the Go S. The original is also more versatile thanks to the detachable controllers in FPS mode, which gave me a better experience in a game like Fragpunk. And with the Legion Go 2 coming out later this year, and a SteamOS version of the Go S on the way, I think Lenovo might have a hard time selling the Windows version with 32GB of RAM at this price point. As much as I like the hardware and the features of the Go S, at $729, I just can't recommend it over the original. Not when the original is cheaper, more flexible, and performs better. But let me know what you think. Would you go for the Go S, the original, or wait it out for the next version? And if you enjoyed this video, you're definitely gonna like the video coming on screen right now. See you guys in the next one.